Right, so putting mesh in your skim to reinforce it. There's two ways. I prefer to fix it to the wall beforehand. A lot of people say that's the wrong way to do it. There's no wrong way to do it in my opinion. So I'm going to put a thick coat on the wall first. The wall has already been PVA'd. Obviously I've scrimmed the cracks there, there's no point really, but I've just done it anyway. And I'm going to use render mesh. You can get a thinner mesh designed specifically for skim, but I like this one because it's got a bit of body to it and it's really tight on the squares. It's like tight knit. You can get some that's really wide. I'm not into that because it frays quite a lot. But yeah, so the wall's PVA'd, the chases have been bonded. This is completely ready to go. I could go overboard and scrim the chases, but it's pointless because you're going to put that mesh in the whole wall. This is a stair wall, so the stairs run there. So obviously it's a high traffic area the other side of that, so it's bound to crack anyway, as with around the doors and stuff, but the client only wanted it on this wall. I did recommend it on other ones, but they just wanted this wall. So yeah, I'm going to show you. So I'm going to mix up some fast set finish because it's towards the end of the day now. So this is really good stuff, but you've got to be quick because it's half the time. I could add half time to the mix and stuff, but I prefer to use that, to be honest. So the method I'm using is thick first coat, bed the mesh in, trowel it all in so you can barely see it, and then lay it down. Obviously I'm going to use the same gear because that fast set, when it's on the wall, it will go off quite quick. So by the time I've bedded the mesh and cut around the sockets, it'll be all right to lay down with, and then hopefully you won't be able to see it, but it'll be reinforced. So yeah, I'll show you what I'm doing. Okay, so I'm just applying a pretty decent thick first coat, just to get the mesh bedded in. Bit thicker than normal, not too thick, but you know, just enough to get the mesh in. Right, so I'm going to bed the mesh in now. So this is why I prefer to staple it, to be honest. If it's stapled on, you don't have to mess around with any of this. It's already on the wall. So let me fire that in there now, and then I'll stick that on. This is the worst bit, just getting it in first, getting it flat, because obviously the wall isn't ever flat. You're just bedding it in. We just got to troll that in as best we can, get all the pockets out of it. This is the worst bit, to be fair. It's this is when you get covered in it. Get the pockets out. Get your knife. Just need to cut that socket out. Bury that in there, like so. Bit of a boulder there. So ideally, what I'll be leaving this in there for the gear to go off a bit before you lay it down, but obviously because I'm using fast set finish, it's going off a bit. But I tend to, when I bend it in, just grease a bit over, like you're laying down, but you're not really laying down, if you know what I mean. You just want that mesh covered, and then when you're going over with your second, you're kind of just laying down over a flat wall, if you know what I mean. And also, you don't want the mesh to come back through. But when you're putting your other pieces in, you want to just make sure that you're overlapping on your old script, on your old mesh. On the sorry, not on the old mesh. On the first piece that you put in, you want to be overlapping just to make sure that you're completely covered. This is like the worst bit, to be fair. This is when time is of the essence. Once it's bedded in, it's just like you're basically just skimming the walls over. You just want to make sure that mesh, there's no air pockets and the mesh is buried. Like that there, perfect example. The air pocket. So I can still see that mesh. You can see where it's been bedded in. But obviously once that takes and you lay it down, you're not going to see that. So I need to put the other pieces in now. So as long as there's no air pockets and it's covered, it's just super fiddly, because obviously you need to have 4 hands really. 2 to hold the mesh and another 2 to trowel it in. But you want that overlap. So we'll overlap it, put that in there. Doesn't have to be perfectly level, you know, you just, because it's getting bedded in anyway. But the key thing is to get that overlap, get it buried as soon as. Get rid of them air pockets. Them air pockets are the ones you want rid of. Just cover that all in here. Save 2 trips on the hop up. Save the knees. I mean, even when it's gone off, when it's took a little bit, you can go over it with a plastic jar or something to flatten. Not really much need to, but you know, preference in it. Everyone's different with the preferences, so. Let's get that mesh covered up. Dropped a bit of a boo-boo with this mix, I think. There's a few bits in it, but not to worry. Can deal with that. So yeah, we're just trolling it down. Remember, we've got that overlap, always overlap. You don't really have to go right down to the floor because your skirting board is going to cover that anyway. The main purpose of this is to prevent cracking on the surface of the plaster. Obviously, if the skirting board's covering the wall, you're not going to see that anyway. It's more likely to go. It's more likely to crack in those areas where it's exposed, you know, on the stairs. So you're talking halfway on the wall there because of the stair wall. But let's get rid of that big air pocket. So like I said before, a lot of people say that you can't apply the mesh first and then skim it into the wall, but that is actually my preferred method. It just saves you having to bed it in, getting covered in the gear, getting all over your fingers and stuff. But yeah, it's not rendering, so it doesn't make any difference whatsoever. To me anyway, it doesn't make any difference. I've done it both ways and there's never been any issues either way. So there is no right and wrong, it's preference, like most things in plastering. So that's bedded in there. Get this last piece in. We'll have to cut the socket out of this one as well when it's on. Hop up there. Get this last piece of mesh. So yeah, obviously when you're dropping it in, you get it on your fingers and stuff. And it's easier when it's stapled on the wall. I find it a lot easier to cover because your first coat is just directly covering it. Whereas with this method, you're burying it into your first coat, so it's going to take more gear to get over it, if you know what I mean. Make sure that's not going to get in the way of that wall. Yeah, that should be okay. So yeah, the idea, the first coat, you don't really have to be too neat with it because you want to get the depth on it, you know, to bed the mash in. After that, once it's bedded in, it's covered for nothing. But obviously, with skim, I'm not really. Our mindset is to not absolutely leather the gear with skim. It's a couple of mil in it. So obviously it's a bit of a learning curve, but we're always learning, aren't we? So, right, let me bury this top bit because this little bit's like playing ball. Right, so that's. I apologise if the lighting's not the best. The electric is off in the house it's working, so I make do with natural daylight. But yeah, as you can see, I'm not sure if you can see there, we've got a few little air pockets. It's just there. So I need to peel the mesh up a bit just to get rid of them. Once it's buried in, then you're laying down as usual. You just need to make sure that you cannot see the mesh through the wall. So yeah, I'll show you what it looks like when it's bedded in, and then I'll show you what it looks like at the end. So this wall has been first coated, and the mesh has been applied within the plaster, the first coat only, and it's been troweled in. So this is what it's going to look like. You can still see the outline of the mesh slightly, but obviously once that first coat has gone off, obviously you can still see the mesh outline, but not the actual mesh, if you know what I mean. So once that first coat has gone off, you can just hit that with a decent second coat. I mean, to be fair, you wouldn't need much of a decent second coat to go over that, but you just want to leave it to go just a bit because you don't want to be spreading around wet on wet. Obviously, I'm not going to teach you how to suck eggs. If you're watching this video, you know how to plaster. But yeah, so yes, it's just basically this second coat that now, and it's just a skim wall as usual. The only difference is the application of the mesh in the first place. You can either bed it in like I've done here, or you can apply it, you can staple it to the wall. Obviously make sure your wall's PVA'd beforehand. Anything that's going on behind it, get that sorted, then put your mesh on, staple it down, and then you can plaster it into a wall. I prefer that method personally, but a lot of people say it's the wrong way to do it. In my opinion, it doesn't matter which way you do it, it's preference. Like as I've said, you still get the same result. But yeah, I'll show you what it looks like when I've second coated it, and it's fully skimmed. Right, so the wall is done, as you can see. You can no longer see the mesh. There's the wall, obviously the mesh, you can just make it out around the socket there. On the bottom, see it there. Put the skateboard and cover that. So yeah, obviously, the light's not great in there, but as you can see, it just finishes up as a normal wall. So yeah, if you can bury it or you can staple it, skim over it. You know, the only thing different is the first bit. Obviously, everything else is just skim as is normal. Maybe give it a bit more time to go off before you go over it. Other than that, jobs are good. So yeah, hope this helps, and thanks for watching.